I think of all of the most successful people, if we just throw out a few names and say these are the biggest names in music, I would say almost all of them, if not all of them, are narcissists. I know hella narcissists who work less hard than me and they get ahead.
I don't think so. Yeah, we could do Joe Budden next week, but obviously Joe Budden is a very successful podcaster. I believe he was a successful rapper.
Very successful.
Some people don't believe that, but I believe he was a successful rapper. He may not have gotten as far as he should have, but super important in today's podcasting culture. But doesn't really know much about independent music from what I gather from the clips that he shares either on his own podcast and definitely in this interview, on the Math Hoffa podcast.
That's a preview for next week. But right now, here is Ray Daniels.
But you're humble and the same work ethic, but you're a narcissist. The narcissist is going to get further in life. And that's the truth. The narcissist is going to get further in life. The humble guy is going to get far, but he's not going to get as far as the narcissist guy, because the narcissist guy was like, it's about me. I remember coming up in this business, bro. I remember being in this business. It was like, I didn't like the arrogant guys, D1, because I was like, arrogant piece of shit. But those arrogant guys all made it further than me. They all went further than me because they would come in that room and be like, it's about me and what we doing. And I would come in the room and be like, man, I'm just happy to be in the room.
Is it arrogance or tunnel vision?
It's all based on perspective. If you got a crazy work ethic, but you're humble and the same work ethic, but you're a narcissist.
So I know Dame already responded in the comments.
The juxtaposition to me is wrong. Like, those aren't like the opposite of a narcissist is not humility, in my opinion, right? I think the juxtaposition is wrong. Like, to me, a narcissist, you can be about yourself and not be a narcissist. A narcissist is deeper than that, in my opinion. Like, you're lacking empathy. The whole world revolves around, so you can be confident and humble. Like, that's not, people in the comments and even in that clip or following that conversation, like, they put just the word confidence on the narcissist side, right? I think he set it up. I think he set it up wrong. Like, obviously there are narcissists that are successful, right? President Trump, like, he's definitely a narcissist, and he became president of the United States. I would never encourage anybody to lean into narcissism, right? Because there's a lot of other negativity around narcissism besides, like, whether you're successful or not, right? So I think the setup.
Ray wasn't.
What do you say?
I don't think he was encouraging people to be narcissists, though, because he even said he could never be that guy.
But
I think he was just stating a fact.
No, but even I'll show you a lot of narcissists that are on Skid Row, or that fell on their head, or that aren't successful at all. From what I took from it is that you kind of have to be a narcissist in order to get ahead, right? That's what he said. He said when he was in meetings and he was more humble, he didn't get as far as the guy that thought the world that revolved around him.
I think what he's saying is narcissism is an edge. You have, if you're talented and if you have good work ethic and you have narcissism working for you, that can be an extra boost in your music career.
No, I would disagree. I wouldn't blanket statement that, right? Of course, you're going to find people that have that as a quality and are successful. And then I would go find people that have that as a quality and see that they're not as successful as the person that maintained humility, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying, but for as his premise states, would you say that narcissism in the music business is an edge if you already have talent and you're already working hard?
I don't think so. I don't think it's an edge.
I don't like narcissists. But I'm just going to say, I think that his point is valid, Because if I think of all of the most successful people, if we just throw out a few names and say these are the biggest names in music, whether it's on the executive side or the artist side, I would say almost all of them, if not all of them, are narcissists. And I think it's because I know hella narcissists who work less hard than me and they get ahead. Dane, there's somebody that we've talked about that is clearly a narcissist that lacks the work ethic, but is able to get in the spaces and the places and do the things because their sole maneuver is about themselves. Whereas when people like us have empathy and concern for other people, well-being, team dynamics, culture, when we bring those considerations, even though we're focused on doing good at business, those things pull at our focus. When your sole focus is you, it makes you really good at finding the opportunities that solely benefit you and then growing those. So I'm not championing for narcissism, but the point is, if we had equal work ethic and you're a humble person and I'm a narcissist, I'm probably going to go further. I think there's too many examples to support that being at least partially true, in my opinion. Not that I like it. I don't like it, but it is what it is.
Hop is a narcissist for sure, right? And he's successful, but it's also playing to his disadvantage. Like, he will never get bigger than he is now because he is a narcissist, because he doesn't understand that the world doesn't revolve around him. Like, on our last tour, he literally, like, we had an argument before the bus left, and he was outside the bus yelling, "This bus is here for me. The fans are here for me. Everything is here for me." Like, he is the true definition of a narcissist. And, I would say it was more of his talent that even got him to where he is. And his narcissism is preventing him to get where he should be. Right. But I would have to.
His work ethic probably prevents him too.
I would have to think about this, making like a blanket statement, because again, we can go back and forth. Like, I know way more, me personally, and I can't use just my sample size as, determination of who's right and who's wrong in this. But in my life, like, I see more people that have humility, that are winning, than more so than people that have narcissistic characteristics.
No, I think I agree that the vast majority of the people that are doing well are doing it the right way. It's just that when, to Aaron's point, when you look at the ultra famous, ultra successful, ultra aspirational people, you may see elements of narcissism. I don't want to make generalizations. All I'm saying is so again, Dave, and same way Aaron just spoke, I'm going to say the same thing. And it's kind of like a wink. We know a narcissist, Dave, who's doing incredibly well for themselves financially, who put themselves before the team. And there was just this like ceiling where, I don't want to get into it, but it was definitely a psychological thing. And I've known narcissists, again, like you, a lot of the rappers that I worked with early on were narcissists, and it was all about them, and that worked in the short term. But as you brought up the example, I don't know Hobson, so I can't speak on it. But if you have the talent and you have the narcissism, that could work for you briefly, because people are attracted to confidence. The problem is that energy runs out because you're a narcissist if your priorities aren't straight. If your priority, like the guy that I'm alluding to, and hopefully you know who I'm talking about, Dave, it's a lot of people who are like this. A lot of rappers, a lot of producers, a lot of whoever they are. If they're focused entirely on making money and they don't care how they make the money because it's all about them making money, that to me falls in line with narcissism, because they don't care who they hurt in the process. They don't care who they exploit in the process. They don't even care about their own reputations. They're just trying to make the money. and their narcissism is telling them that they're doing the right thing. Those people, I think, end up making a ton of money and becoming successful, at least in the traditional sense.
In the independent space, like, you need so much support from people. Like, you're not going to get far as an independent artist with narcissistic qualities. Like, once you get into like mass media, I can definitely see how, because this country, I believe, like, loves some of those qualities, right? So if you're on big platforms, or if you're the president, if you're trying to be the president, like, I could definitely see how that plays to his advantage. But I think there's going to be a cap on where you can get if you have those qualities and you're playing in the independent space. I just, I think it's much easier to build with people, because you're going to need these relationships. And if that's your rep, and that's, I mean, obviously Aaron has, I'm going to let you go, Aaron, because you look like you're busting at the seams right now.
I'm saying narcissism doesn't mean that you're fully self-destructive. Like, really intelligent narcissists know how to network and move they don't have their ego on this. That's what I'm saying. I think your example of Hobson is he was an idiot. He got in his own way, because it's not just the narcissism there. His work ethic also doesn't match what he desires to be. His narcissism is telling him that everybody should come to him. He's the greatest artist, yada, yada, yada. It's really fueled by heavy insecurity. But I know a ton of strategic narcissists. My father is a narcissist. When you get in the room with him, you would love him. You'd be like, man, this dude is so solid. He cares about people, yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think categorically placing all narcissists as this egocentric, it's not always loud, and it's not always. So I know hella independent artists that when I worked with them, it was me, 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 me. They'll tell you nice things to keep you on the leash because they need you, and they know they need you, but they'll keep you subservient by always eating at you, so that you're on this leash with them where they give you a little bit of appreciation and then they snatch it, and it's this limbo. Like, I know a ton of narcissists. It's a very intricate, when done properly, you win. Like, I'm saying, like, I hate it, but the way that
that's smart, though. I mean, you may,
I don't disagree with that.
I'm coming over to your side a little bit, but I would still argue that humility, people have, even when Russ talked about humility, I think people talk about it the wrong way and as a negative thing, right? It is downplaying your importance at times, but you can still be confident and humble, right? Like, that's those aren't two things that cancel each other out. And I think when people use the word humble, they're typically using it wrong. Like, humility to me is an amazing thing. I think you should have it, but you should also be confident when you step into the room. You should just know that not everything is about you, right? And you pick and choose. You pick and choose when to display your confidence. You use your emotional intelligence to pick and choose when you display your confidence and when there is something to be learned from downplaying your importance.
No, that's a good point, Dave. But that's what I think mentally healthy people do. A narcissist will do that, but in an artificial way. Like, someone like you, I'll give myself as an example. If a company contacts me and they're like, hey, we want to do this partnership deal with you. We want you to make a video for us. Here's how we want to do it. I'm going to be like, hey, that's not exactly the best way that I would do it. I'm open to suggestions, but can I change the script a little bit to match my identity and my brand and my audience? Oh yeah, sure. A narcissist might say, oh yeah, this is great. Let's continue this partnership. And then slowly but surely they change it into their own thing until at some point they've transformed it into something completely unrecognizable. Or, to me, one is humility. Like, I have to enter that conversation with humility. It's a negotiation. If I find myself in another context where someone's like, man, give me that beat exclusive for $25, I'm going to be like, no, Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? I'm not doing that. That's not narcissism. That's me being confident and knowing my value and valuing myself. I'm not going to walk into a room and just say, shut every conversation down, talk over everybody. But if I'm at a negotiating table, I'm going to try to get what's best for me at the same time. So does that make me arrogant? No, that makes me confident. But it's nuanced, and someone in that room might say, "Oh yeah, Payne's such an arrogant narcissist. He wouldn't budge on that number." And it's like, because I'm not budging on the number. It has nothing to do with my mental illness. It has to do with, that this is what I get from these situations, and I'm standing firmly on that number. So I think there are varying degrees of confidence, and it's hard for people who don't know a person truly to tell where the confidence ends and the narcissism begins. And I'm saying this from a business perspective, but also personal. When I'm talking about relationships, friendships, dating, I've had close friends who are narcissists, and I've dated narcissists, and people on the outside might look at your situation with your friend or with your girlfriend or whoever and think something entirely different is going on. But, also the dangerous narcissist is the highly emotionally intelligent and strategic narcissist. If you're just, unfortunately, a pretty ignorant person who can't read the room and you're a narcissist, you're the narcissist Dame's talking about that's not doing shit with their lives. If you're the narcissist that understands the landscape, then you're the CEO, or you're the Trump or the Biden or whoever you are, and you're at the top, and you're never wrong, and it's all about you, and you're going to succeed. And unfortunately, the same things confident people display, so do narcissists. It's just fundamentally different at its core.
Yeah, but it still sounds to me like I would never promote or suggest people or encourage narcissistic qualities, because even if you look at the people that are winning in business, I'm sure that there's a huge gap in their life. Like the people that I know personally, like they might have money, but they don't have anybody in their life that supports them truly. They don't have anybody in their life that tells them the truth. So I would never, I think it'd be interesting to study some of it and the qualities and some of the things you can apply and still be humble and still be just a good human being. But I would never encourage narcissistic traits on this podcast.
I don't think he was encouraging them, and I would never encourage them either. I think he was just stating these people get ahead, and he even said he was never that guy, so he wouldn't have got to that point. As a very successful, wealthy man in the industry, it's not that he lost. He just never got ahead like those people. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't encourage it either. But I think on paper,
even you saying that, people will take from that clip what you just said. Even if you expand on it later, it'll sound like in order to get, you can get here with somebody with humility, but if you want to get here, you have to be a narcissist. That's essentially what you said, and that's essentially what Ray was saying in that clip.
You know what though? I'm not gonna lie.
That's
and I just don't agree with that.
It's an oversimplification, but I think there are situations where narcissism, I think it's hard if you're not a narcissist. I don't know.
And I think that you can't falsely be a narcissist. It's actually a mental illness. You know what I'm saying? So it's we just did a session yesterday with Dr. Drew, and he has a whole book on narcissism. And he was talking about it in our industry and where it comes from, the type of trauma that it's derived from. So I'm not saying it as a go be a narcissist, therefore you'll get ahead. You can't if you're faking it. You can't, just the same way you can't, if you're faking humility, it's eventually going to come out. I'm just stating that on paper, it seems to be a truth. That's why I'm saying it's not an opinion, go be a narcissist. It's on paper. And then especially because we live in a fucking capitalistic society. Like, it's the people who wrote these bylaws and the systems that we function inside of were probably narcissists. So if you actually have that bent, if you are messed up in that type of way, then most likely you're going to win because the system was created for you. That's the same way of saying if you're a white male in the music industry, you're probably going to get further than a black woman. That's not me saying, now go be a white man. It's just the truth. Like, if you're a white man, you're most likely going to get further than me. So it's not like I'm not ascribing to the thought process that I think everybody should be self-centered. I think if you're a narcissist, you need to be healed. And I think that the fact that we live in a capitalistic society needs to change, but that's not going to change because I want people to do better in life and care about other people. It just is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, just kind of going back to Trump, like, I feel like his narcissism works in this country because our society is not just capitalistic, but it's sick. And I don't think, like, if Trump ran the same campaign in Japan or some other country, like, he'd be kicked the hell out. Like, so some of it works just because of how sick our society is in this country.
Yeah, we celebrate narcissism, we celebrate toxicity, and I think that's certainly part of our collective downfall. But ultimately, we pay those people. So I don't know. I mean, we're encouraging it. I don't know how narcissism works. I don't even think mental health experts know. And you know, it's just an elusive mental illness. There's no. There's a lot of studies about it. There's studies about it, but there are no cures or like a streamlined treatment. They've broken narcissism down into different categories, subcategories of narcissism. It's just that, like, I don't know.
We should bring a psychologist on, because I also think that a lot of these, isn't Dr. Drew said some dumb shit before, isn't he? Like, I can't remember.
Everybody says dumb shit, Dave.
I can't remember the issue he got into, but I'm gonna look right after this podcast because I believe he did some stuff that Are you talking
about Dr. Drew or Dr. Oz? Because Dr. Oz said a lot of dumb shit too.
But anyway, I just feel like a lot of these words become popular and we use them and we don't know, like, really what they mean, right? So whether it's narcissism or toxic is a popular word in culture, like, people just throw this shit out. It would be interesting to have a psychologist on the podcast. That actually would have been, if I didn't go to school for business, it would have been psychology for me.
I'll ask my aunt. We'll see what she says.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. I definitely understand what you guys are saying. I lean a little bit more your way, but again, I'm a fan of you know, encouraging people to be humble. There's so many. I think it's been something that's been a part of my growth for sure. I try to be as humble as I can, but I need to work on the confidence piece more. But I definitely wouldn't say it's narcissistic.
I also, Dame, and I do feel like a lot of people, including you, box yourselves in. Like, you put a wall up between yourself and a narcissist simply because you're not a piece of shit. And that it's hard to cross that. It's damn near impossible to cross that threshold. Like, when Aaron and I are speaking on narcissism, it's totally observational. And so I know you can't fathom being that destructive of a person because that's just not in your nature. So I understand that you respect humility and authenticity. There are just a lot of people out there who are either narcissists or they're the perfect victim for a narcissist. And I think that maybe that's the missing element, that there are a lot of people in this world who are the perfect victims for narcissism. They're vulnerable to it. And so they're the ones that help push these narcissists forward. Because if everyone resisted the narcissism, this wouldn't even be a conversation. But there are a lot of vulnerable folks along this ladder climbing journey who, when the narcissist says, push me up, I'm better than you, or push me up, you'll never be shit without me, or help me up, help move me forward. You're just worthless, and everybody knows that, and I'm the only one who can give you any sort of value. Okay, I'm a victim. Okay. People pleasers, people with trauma, narcissists know how to play on that. And so if you're intelligent, and again, if you're emotionally intelligent, interpersonally intelligent as a narcissist, you are dangerous, because you really can get your way, and you know who to victimize. You don't walk into a room. A narcissist doesn't walk into a room, see another narcissist and be like, that's my victim. They walk into a room and probably even subconsciously, they're like, this person is a people pleaser. I'm going to get that motherfucker. Watch. They're going to be eating out of the palm of my hand in a week. And they do. They
You're
bomb.
laughing, Dame, but that's literally their thing. Their thing is like, I've done a ton of research on narcissism because again, my father's a narcissist. I had to spend a ton of money on therapy to heal, but I was very attracted to other narcissists. So in my dating life and in this musical journey, I started working with people who would literally treat me like shit. And I hindsight, I'm like, yo, I really had to heal. But in the moment, I felt like I was only worthy of being a part of something that was great. I wasn't worthy of creating the greatness. I wasn't worthy. I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I didn't feel like I had enough value to bring. So I said, well, I can co-sign somebody else's greatness. I can help exploit it, and I'll just be part of the team. Then I realized I was being sought out by these people because everybody in my circle was one of these assholes. So I started looking at the patterns of how I got intercepted by these people. They could smell it on me. They could smell my need for belonging and my desire for greatness. So they're like, that's a perfect combination. She wants to be great, but she needs to feel like she's needed. So we're going to suck the life out of her. This shit is toxic. So even now in my life, now that I have confidence, I repel narcissists to no end. People who hate me are typically narcissists because they can tell that I'm not their prey anymore, but I also have the humility piece, but you can't manipulate me. So this shit is real. That's what I'm saying. Like, relegating narcissists to these idiots who just shout in the street. There's some very, very intelligent, strategic, well-rounded people who will have the best and the brightest confused and have you thinking. And it's not this like, hey, fuck you, it's a very slow, there's a lot of maneuvering. There's a lot of, what do you call it when you're a predator? Grooming. There's a ton of grooming. That's why a lot of predators are narcissists too. Yeah. You just groom and you groom, you check the same way that I'm an empath and I can check the temperature of a room. I can see who needs to be loved and cared about, is the same exact thing that narcissists use to check the temperature of the people around them to see who they can acquire and make them feel like, hey, you're part of the team. We love you. You're the one. And it's just all a really long play for them to be. That's what I'm saying. Most of the CEOs that are super front running, a lot of these people that we love and adore, who we can't stand now, because they've made it to their goal or because they're so high on top, they know that they can't fall. So then their main annoying narcissism comes out. But on their journey, they're playing the game. And then once they get to a certain point, they use what they've done as cause for why you should follow them. Like, yeah, I'm an asshole, but look at all the shit that I've done. And then people start to be like, well, they may be terrible, but look, they own this and they own that. So maybe they're doing something right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's way more intricate than just this person's an asshole and an idiot.
But this is why I would love to talk to a psychologist, because like I would believe like their need for admiration, their lack of empathy doesn't allow, like, messes with them being able to be so calculated the way that you guys explain it. So that's what my question to a psychologist would be. I mean, and I'm sure there are people that have the emotional intelligence and can be that calculated. But for me, for what I've seen, like, the need for admiration, the lack of empathy, like, kind of fucks up some of their calculations, even if they have the calculations to begin with, because it's such an overpowering need to be admired, right? So again, I
was talking with a woman recently, and she did a study. She works with mega church pastors. Okay, she did a study of over 150 pastors, and the most overwhelming thing on the spectrum that they landed at, and this is mega church pastors, is narcissists. She said over 82% of them register higher than the average narcissist on the narcissist scale. Do you know what I'm saying? Mega church pastors. If you're telling me that they can't get out of their own way, they can. If your ultimate goal is to be adored, you can temporarily move out of your own way to get more adoration. Like, it's the main goal. So if I have to, you know what I'm saying? If somebody's trying to lose weight, yeah, you want the donut, but you substitute what you really want for what you want now. So instead of saying, like, of course I want to be adored, but if I can be on the world stage, I'll learn, I'll maneuver, because you're still going to get adoration in the process. That fuels you to say, oh, I can get more of this. I'm telling you, like, it's especially because it's a spectrum, right? So I'm not saying everybody can do that, but if you think of some of the best and brightest, like, I have the capacity to do certain things that other people don't because I'm gifted in certain areas. So, like, yeah, this one person may not be able to do this, but I can. So I'm just saying, if you look at it, I think the assumption that them wanting to be adored is going to get in the way. Some people are willing to play a long, long, long game if that's their ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. But again, I think I would just love to have, if there's a psychologist that that works in the music industry that's willing to come on this podcast, I think that would be amazing.
Oh, they have to work in the music industry. There need to be more psychologists, and
I think it's very. I mean, we could talk to somebody that doesn't, but I think there are some very specific things to music that if you've had experience in this industry, like, the conversation would be that much more fruitful.
Well, I think Aaron's point about the pastors, that's pretty parallel to like a music business mogul or
it adds a whole,
the
whole other element of religion. It just adds a whole nother like layer to it. Because I definitely could understand how that can get out of control.
Yeah, and if you want to read about that, it's in the Great Commission Research Journal. I don't know if that's the article that you're talking about, but the title
probably is because she cited a lot of different things, but they had her do an independent study.
Okay. Yeah, the title is Do Larger Churches Tolerate Pastoral Narcissism More Than Smaller Churches? And there are multiple authors on that, but it is in a peer-reviewed journal. So I just want to do my job as the producer of this podcast and cite things. So
if you don't hate Dr. Drew, once you go and look and see if he said something crazy, I literally got his information yesterday. So I don't know if he'll come on because we're just a tiny little podcast, but a heavy portion of our session was him and Dina LaPolte, and they were talking about narcissism and how to manage navigating this industry. And also he stated that they did a study and there's actually less narcissists in the music industry than any other industry, which blew my mind. I don't believe that still, but yeah, he has a whole book on it. So.
Cool. All right, we can wrap it up.
Well, big things are coming for this podcast, evidently, and I'm excited for it. Appreciate you tuning in. Again, Too Lost is a sponsor, toolost.com. Sign up for 3 months of free distribution. Use promo code PAIN. 3 free months. After that, it's cheap. So for the whole year, you're paying under $20, I think. And we will catch you the next episode. Appreciate you tuning in. Peace.